Killing your mics.
I got a call at like 6 this morning.
Oh, okay.
About that one.
Oh, that's how it goes to you, because it forwards to your phone. Oh, okay. We're wondering how that goes to you.
Because I got a call.
All of it.
Cool.
Are we live?
You're live, jackass. You're live, jackass.
So, sorry about the technical difficulties, but I just witnessed maybe one of the most amazing things we've witnessed in studio. This is going to be an exciting episode. We're going to go in a million directions. We're going to talk about a million different powers our bodies never knew we had. So we have a special guest today. We have somebody that's absolutely going to blow your mind. But before we get to that, I want to give a special thanks to k-var, to everybody in studio. Go visit www.kvar.com. Make sure you check us out. I want to thank everybody in studio, Q, Melody, everybody, Ray, Jen, everyone for being the guinea pigs. But we have a really special guest. This is a guy who, it's crazy, the things we do in life. This is, one of those things that is going to blow your mind and absolutely kick ass. Sorry about the echo. He hypnotizes people for a living. So he taps into powers that people didn't even know they had. And he taps into stuff. And I heard terms that I don't even understand. I heard molecular. I heard, all these different things, that blew my mind. We're going to get deep into it. This guy's a wizard. He's an absolute genius. He's a jiu-jitsu practitioner. We have Dom from Mindguide.life.
Yo.
What's up? So I want to get into this, for people that don't know, this is very Vegas. This is very Showtime. How did you get into hypnosis and how did you get here?
It actually happened by accident. So my mom, I love my mom. She took this course on self-development, NLP, all this other stuff. And part of the course was hypnosis. So like a day or two they did hypnosis. And so she took the course and she told me about it. She's like, yeah, we learned how to hypnotize people within the first day. And I was just thinking, there's no way you could learn how to do that in a day. Because, we've all seen shows or YouTube videos of people doing that. And it seems like this magical power that these people have. So I always thought it would take months and months of training with monks and all these wizards to figure it out. And so I was like, well, shit, if my mom can do this, then, I'm a chip off the old block, so I should be able to do it as well. So I had been asking her about this course that they had coming up, and she was kind of beating around the bush about it, wasn't telling me all the details, and I was like, okay, whatever. So I just kind of forgot about it, put it on the back burner. And then, lo and behold, she surprised me with a gift for Christmas was to go to this course. So I went to this course, and man, it changed my life forever. It was like I found my purpose and what I'm supposed to be doing in life, and it's just been skyrocketing ever since. So that's kind of how it all happened.
So you get into this, and I'm trying to, for everyone on Instagram land, I was trying to put the post up to get everybody over here to YouTube. So you get into this kind of happenstance. You know, it's serendipitous how you slide into this. What were you doing before that made you just say, like, let me forget about what I'm doing here and let me just get into this? Like, what promotes that path?
Yeah, so for years I'd been in sales. I sold insurance for a long time, for pretty much the last 10, 11 years. And I had some different things I did in between there. But, I just find I was good at it. I was actually really good at it. I was always top 10 in sales and whatnot. But I just wasn't passionate, and I found myself waking up every single day having to push through like this invisible barrier of, just having to make yourself do something you don't want to do. And I was stuck in what we call the gray zone. So the gray zone is basically, your life is just kind of flatline. There's no highs, there's no real lows. You're just kind of going through with no real purpose. So when I found this, I was like, hey, this is it. I could feel it throughout everywhere in my body. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so the first day I got out, I just started pushing on my Instagram. Hey, anybody who wants to get hypnotized, I'll do it for free, because I wanted to get my skills up, right? Because I just got out of this class.
Practice.
Get
the reps.
And so I originally set a goal when I got out of the class. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is my passion. This is what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And I said, within 6 months, I want to be doing this full time, getting paid to do it. So I go out the first week. I don't know. I must have hypnotized 30 or 40 people within the first week, all through FaceTime for the most part, some in person. And after the first week, I saw the results I was getting with people, and I said, fuck, I'm actually really good at this. So I changed my goal from 6 months to 3 months. And then I did it for free for another week, and then I go, you know what? This stuff is too powerful just to do for free like this. Like, this is something special. So after 2 weeks of getting out of the course, I made it a full-time career, and it's been that way ever since.
I love it. It's crazy. So to everybody that's skeptical out there, and we're going to get into how hypnosis helps you and all these things. We're going to get into all that jazz. But first, we've hypnotized a couple people in the building. We did a couple of quick, like you said, kind of short version, long version stuff. We have Ray in the booth. Q, if you can get a mic on Ray, get him on that mic, either in there or whatever. Just put him on the mic for a minute. I want to get some
You want him to just jump on his mic?
Yeah, let him jump on that mic. And I'm jump on that mic.
All right,
I want to get some feedback
Just talk right here. Put the headphones on.
as they wrestle around in there. Remember, I can hear everything you guys say. So we took a guy in our booth, in our facility, that's in the sales department and works with the customers and works with the dealers in here, and we put him through a little bit of the process. Tell us how you're feeling and what you feel like.
Like you said, we went through the process. I was a little nervous at first, but Dom did a great job explaining it and going through, separating like my conscious from my subconscious mind. And really calmed me down, really put me in a relaxation state, which I was a little bit surprised at first because I'd never really been hypnotized before. And from there, it was interesting. I could tell that there was thoughts kind of trying to break in and distract me a little bit, but at the same time, what Dom was saying just weighed heavier and I felt like definitely left an impression on me, on my unconscious mind, more so than anything else. And I'm just kind of interested now. Curious to see how it's gonna work out. But I think it's gonna be good.
Do you feel ready to go out there, hit the phones, and sell more of America than you've ever sold in your entire life?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel more motivated. I'm generally excited about sales, but I would definitely say more so now than before. And
I will say this: when he walked out of the room, he had a 2A cape on and automatically had a tattoo of the American flag on his head. I don't know how it got there, but he's ready to conquer the world. He's ready to be more a patriot than he's ever been, and he's going to go back to the sales department and make Dr. Dave all kinds of rev. So we're excited about that.
Yeah,
and obviously we're going to put that to the test. So Ray, go back to the sales room. You have to make 50 dials before you have a drop of lunch.
Oh, that's easy.
And let me know how it goes. And we're gonna want a full report from you. We're gonna do a follow up on this, and if it works, Dave's fully prepared to dig deep in his pockets to make this happen for the entire sales team.
It works 100% of the time.
Most of the
100% of the time. It always works.
So, Ray, get back to the sales desk and start making dials, and we're going to follow up with you on how this all goes.
All right, we'll do. Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
So, it's an awesome process. Now, you're working with all kinds. You're going to be working with even more, but I notice you're working with all kinds of high-profile people, and this is something that's coming into fight camps. This is something that we've talked about with shooting. This is something that we've talked about with all sports. How big is hypnosis in sports and in people's development? Successful people.
You know, it's funny because it's not that big, which is surprising, because you would think that at the highest levels of sports, billion-dollar companies, that they would have people on staff that do what I do. But pretty much all of the fighters that I've worked with that are in the UFC, except for one guy, Khalil, had never done hypnosis before. And they all kind of thought, everybody always thinks, you know, for the most part, everybody thinks it's all bullshit, it's not real, this and that and the other. And then I started connecting with these NFL guys, and you know, same thing. A lot of these guys didn't even know what hypnosis was. They're like, "What's that?" So I had to explain it to them. And so, yeah, these NFL teams don't even have, not even, you know, even putting hypnosis aside, not even like a mental coach or anything like that, which just blows my mind. So, yeah, you know, my whole purpose is I'm taking this mainstream. You know, I'm going to make it to where hypnosis is no longer associated with clucking like a chicken and having sex with blow-up dolls and shit. And we're going to make it, you know, so people use this stuff.
I think you got to be a believer, though. I think that's the first step.
You don't, though. Nope, you don't have to. No, all you have to do is follow instructions. You don't have to believe it.
So I know they're pulling up your social media. You've been kind of blowing up with this the last couple of months. I've kind of witnessed it. And you can head over to @Mindguide.life to check out Dom's stuff and some of the people he's worked with. And I'm sure some don't want to be publicized. That goes with everything. I mean, that's just
yeah. All the guys that are on there are all public.
Yeah, they're all willing to be out there.
Yeah.
But I think as you mature and put more out there, it's going to be one of those things that some guys are going to be like, hey, man, you know, I don't want to be, you know, people to know my tricks of the trade or whatever it is. Now, a similar guy that I've had on the podcast, it was Dr. Bo Hightower. He does a lot of interesting stuff with chiropractic medicine, and he does a lot of stuff where he's got the hammer and the chisels, and he's doing all that stuff, and he works with John Jones, and he works with a lot of fighters. He works with a lot of people, and he's in a lot of camps. Shout out to Dr. Bo. He's worked on me. He's phenomenal, and he's kind of like one of those little industry secrets, and I feel like you could become one of those guys that's kind of a secret. I mean, you're in the right place. You're doing something that makes people better. I would imagine that's going to be pretty quick to catch on.
Yeah. I mean, you know how long I've been doing this, John?
How long?
Guess.
6 months.
No, less. 4 months.
4 months. And
so,
it's already shot out of a cannon.
Exactly. Because, yeah, and I don't know how many guys I've worked in the UFC now. I think like 8 or so, or 7 or 8, something like that. A couple, two guys in the NFL. And, yeah, it's one of those things that is just exploding like wildfire, and I'm just going to keep pushing it until, you know, everybody is either working with me or somebody like me. So, you know, it's going to get to the point. Here was my whole, I don't even want to call it a goal, because I don't make goals. I just make decisions. And what I mean by that is when I have something that I want to do, I just decide to do it. Because if you have like, I have a goal of this or that, well, goals are, you know, it's kind of wishy-washy. Like, oh, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But when you make a decision and you say, this is what I'm doing, it changes the whole way you think and feel about whatever it is you decided to do. So I decided that man, you know what? I lost my train of thought.
You decided you were going to make it happen.
I'm going to make it happen. Yeah. So,
hey, Dom.
Yo,
Dom, this is Q in the booth, man. I'm curious. You look at this picture I got on your Instagram here. This is pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
What's going on here with this story?
Yeah. So that girl. So I had done work with this guy. He's a fighter out of Syndicate, and his jiu-jitsu coach reached out to me and was like, hey, my daughter has, I forget what type of cancer it was, but she has cancer. She's 9 years old. Super.
shit.
Oh my God. One of the best souls I've ever met in my life. Just had such a positive outlook when we were working together. But she had this fear of taking her medication, and she needs to take her medication in order to heal. So I went in. We did the timeline therapy like I did with what was her name? Jen?
Mm-hmm.
You with Jen?
Mm-hmm.
And then we did some hypnosis. And it was just so funny, man. Afterwards, she was like, I want to be a hypnotist when I grow up. And she's like, can you show me how to put people to sleep and do all this? So I showed her some tricks of the trade. And while I was doing that, I didn't even know her dad took that picture. So it was like so cool that, because he was behind us, and I wasn't going to ask him like, hey, take a picture of me doing this. And yeah, he captured that moment. I was like, man, that was, bar none, the coolest
really cool.
session I've ever done.
Yeah.
I really thought that was a cool moment. I wanted to get the story, so that's pretty cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, no, that's insane.
She's
Wow.
9.
I mean, it goes without saying that this is pretty amazing stuff. So, coming back to, you're in k-var, you're in Arsenal. We manufacture guns.
I love this place, by the way.
It's a badass studio.
So cool.
So cool to have you in here finally, because we do jiu-jitsu together. So it's nice to have someone in to kind of see where I work, and I've got to see how you work, and I put a few people through the paces. Love having you in. Love showing you the spot. How can this help shooters? Because I want to bring something up. I was going to throw this on you. There's a thing called Halo or Halo Sport that's been going around. It's a pair of headphones. Shooters have been using it, and it does like a music thing where it makes you focus and get better at shooting.
Like binaural beats?
Yeah, like something like that. So I see this stuff starting to drip into our sport, this type of subconscious, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. But you're something more. You're something more advanced. It's something that I think the sport should be exposed to. You had told me this can absolutely make people better at shooting, absolutely make people better at archery, absolutely make people better at probably hunting and fishing and things like that, and create a certain focus, and I can see that. Walk me through the process of how it makes you better at not just those things, at all things, in the process that's involved, so people understand. Because you said there's mini sessions and there's 2 hours, and there's how somebody comes to you and they say, Dom, I want to be the best shooter in the world. Tell me how they get there.
Yeah, well, first of all, with what you just said, I want to be the best shooter in the world. So there's this misconception that when you get hypnotized, that it's just gonna like. It takes you to a new level, but it's only within your believability scale, right? So if you're somebody who really deep down inside, on a scale 1 to 10, you're like at a 2 or a 3 that you believe that you could be the best shooter in the world, hypnosis isn't going to get you to the 10. It'll get you to like a 5. But you have to have at some level an actual belief that whatever it is that you want is achievable. And basically this just unlocks that potential and allows you to get there quicker. So if you're at like a 7 or an 8 in believing you're already at some level, then absolutely it'll make you the best shooter in the world. Now, as far as how it all works, the funny thing is I don't know shit about guns or shooting, or I have one gun and it's like some little fucking handgun or whatever, but it doesn't matter. I don't need to know about guns in order to make you good at it, because all it is a matter of keeping calm, being relaxed, being focused, which is in every area of your life, whether it's guns, fighting, football, it doesn't matter. So
do you feel like that's what you're giving people that they're missing?
What's that?
Is the focus,
Yeah. So what it does is basically allows you to access your highest potential at those moments. So we've all been there with whatever particular sport or activity that we do, and we're in that flow state, like let's say you're shooting guns and you just can't miss, everything you shoot hits the target. And then there's those times where you can't hit the fucking target to save your life. So what it does is it puts you in that flow state where you are as accurate as you could possibly be. You're more focused, you're calm, so that whatever it is your task is, again, fighting, shooting, wrestling, whatever the hell it is, you're performing at your highest potential in that moment. So that is what it does. Because there's things that go on in our life that can distract us, right?
Of course.
You've seen how many athletes, they get caught cheating on their wife and then they fucking can't make a shot to save their life.
Of course. I mean, I've always loved, things, whether it's fighting, shooting, or weightlifting, because the weights don't lie, the mat doesn't lie, and of course, shooting, the target never lies. So they're not one of those arbitrary things. Like some guys get on stage, they're bodybuilders, it's up to the judges. Some guys do certain things that the other people make decisions. Mm-hmm. And I've always said in life, you can control, I always say expect nothing, blame no one, and do your job. And you control two things in life: what time you get out of bed and how loyal you are. The rest is all going to change, and it's all arbitrary, regardless of the, whatever it is. So in that vein, having somebody like you on your team to help give somebody that supreme focus, it's a process like anything else. It's a training process. It's training your mind, right? To make your body do things that it didn't know that it could do, mm-hmm. right? So like you said, I mean, it's like anything else in life. You may date someone that's a 5. It's hard to make them a 10. You can maybe get them to a 7.
Right.
You can't get people. You can't perform miracles. You're not turning water into wine, but you can get people to dial in to places that they haven't been. Now, how long does that process take when you're working with a client?
Yeah. So, I mean, it everybody's a little bit different, but I mean, as you saw with Jen, I mean, what was that? 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's something where, let's say we'll take one of my fighters or that I work with, right? And they want to get prepared for this fight. Well, there's going to be some subconscious or unconscious blocks that we need to get rid of. And everybody's different. Some people, it's super quick. Some people, it takes some more time. Once you get rid of those blocks, and that's not using hypnosis, that's using timeline therapy, what I did with Jen. And then doing the hypnosis. But it's the more you do it, the better you are. It's just like lifting weights. The more you lift the weights, the better you're going to get. So, or anything. So now, if it's something where what we just did with them, like, hey, I'm going to be good. I want to be great at calling today or whatever. I mean, that's super quick. I could take somebody right off the street. Let's take lifting weights, for example. Like if you and I went to the gym right now, and I don't know, let's say your max bench is 400 pounds. If I hypnotize you for about 15 minutes, your max bench will 100% go up from that 400 pounds within just 15 minutes. So it all depends on what the person's looking to do.
The max is 500 for the record, Dom.
Oh, is it? Okay. I don't fucking know, man. The most I ever lift is like 315 on incline.
So you said something, and Q and I are curious because we were talking about this. You actually have hypnotized friends to pick up chicks.
Yeah.
So we're all curious about this. Rory and Q are waiting. We're all standing by. How does that work, and how, has it worked? And if so, do you do this as like a group therapy thing when we're pre-gaming?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was waiting to bring this up, man. Rory was in my way. I couldn't get to the mic.
So how does this work?
I need tips.
So, so one of my buddies, I have the text messages, but I threw my phone over there so it didn't distract me. But he, so one night, or we'd actually done more than just one session, but we were, working, and he said something about he wants to get more bad bitches and something else, money or bad bitches. I can't remember. So anyways, that's not me, that's him. So I do whatever the client wants me to do. So anyways, we worked on that one night. And then a couple weeks later, he goes, yo, man, he's like, ever since that session we did about bad bitches, he's like, I've literally been pulling the finest girls I ever had in my life. And he showed me pictures, and I was like, okay, because I know how he was before and I know what he's getting now. I'm like, damn, yeah, they are really good looking.
Hold on, I'm writing this shit down, man.
Yeah. Now, for a session like that, this being Vegas, this is a great place to do this. Where can people, like, how would you package a session like that? Like, hey, this is like the out on the town, call me type.
Yeah.
How does this work?
Well, I mean, that kind of thing, I kind of only really do with my buddies. If somebody was like, if that's something that they wanted to do, they were like an introvert and they want to be more confident with girls, we could do that. But, on a Friday night, I'm not going to spend my time hypnotizing some dude for 30 minutes on, 8 o'clock at night on a Friday or Saturday. But if it's something where somebody, like I said, is a real introvert, they want to get out there and be more confident with women, et cetera, then we could schedule it, normal business hours and get it done. But yeah, like, with my buddies going out, we just, hey, I'll just hypnotize them. You're going to have fun tonight. You're going to be confident. You're going to talk to whoever you want. You're going to be the life of the party, da-da-da-da-da. And fuck, man, every time.
Dom, do you see the look in John's eyes?
I know he's like,
I'm scared.
This is
you
like,
see the look in his
my
eyes,
mind's
bro.
blown. So in all seriousness, though, this is something, I could definitely see, guys, because everybody's so concerned right now in sport with taking care of their body. You see cryo becoming big. There's a cryo facility where there's every tanning facility. This is becoming like a thing, taking care of your body, going to the chiropractor regularly, getting that type of therapy. I can see this coming in and being a part of people's regimen.
Oh, absolutely.
I could see you having an office, and I could say, hey, I got my session with Dom, I got my 15, 20 minutes. Is that where you see it going? Is that...
So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the point I was making earlier. So the decision that I made is that I'm going to take this mainstream and make it to where, just like, back in the early 90s when nobody knew about jiu-jitsu, and then Hoist came in the UFC and he just started dominating everybody with jiu-jitsu, and then all of a sudden jiu-jitsu just exploded.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that, but with hypnosis and all these different sports. So eventually, once people, because when if you see the guys that I work with, and not everybody's going to win every time, but the purpose isn't necessarily to win, it's to perform their absolute best in that moment, to give it everything they got, so that way there's no regrets, there's no looking back, like,
leave it all on the table.
Leave it all out there. And if you see the people that I've worked with and you see the before and the after, I mean, it's night and fucking day. And it's funny, when I worked with Khalil, he was the second guy I worked with that's in the UFC, and that's kind of what put me on the map, because he had got knocked out as the fight before that, and it was a pretty bad knockout. And so I met him just by accident, actually, and then we worked together, and then he had a fight the very next week. And he went out there and he just dominated his opponent for 3 rounds. I mean, just put on a Muay Thai clinic. And and I'm watching the fights. At this point, I hadn't talked to him about, is it okay if I tell people? So I kept it under wraps.
Yeah, of course.
But, Joe Rogan and DC are like, oh my God, he's a whole new fighter. It's like he came over a mental block and this and that. And he did so good that Joe had him on the show. And then while he was on the show, he had mentioned the work that we did.
Yeah, I saw that in your bio.
Yeah, so man, it's night and day the difference that this stuff makes when you get rid of the limiting beliefs and you tap into the powers within yourself. So
now, the first time I was introduced to hypnosis, a lot of people bring this up, and this is a common one, is people do it to quit smoking or to quit something that they're addicted to or some type of habit-forming thing. Is that something that you want to make a part of what you offer, or? No,
when I first started, I did that for a little while, but, to be honest with you, and if you're a smoker, if this hurts your feelings, then too bad. But I'm not really a fan of smokers. So I don't know. I was just like, I don't really want to smoke. If you smoke weed, then whatever. But cigarettes, I'm like, So I work with a couple people, and I'm like, this isn't the clientele.
It's not the clientele you want to work with.
Not the clientele I want to work with. So,
and that seems like a fast food approach to what you do in many ways. After seeing you do it at this level, it seems like a little bit of a dumbed down.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, yeah. It's just
it's a one and done thing. And I don't think that's what you're about at all. But in sport, I definitely see a place for this. I mean, I don't know how many other guys, or if there's other guys like you out there, but in the short time, you've been doing it, you've kind of burst on the scene, and I see it, in the social media and stuff, and all these people kind of gravitating towards you. And I think with your relationships, and we share some of the similar friends in my short time here, I see you kind of really dominating with this and getting this out there.
Thank you, man. Yeah, as far as guys out there that do what I do, I'm sure there's a couple. I know of a couple. But your average, like, everyday hypnotist, if they're not like certified in NLP, which I'm certified in, and also timeline therapy, they're not going to be able to take you to that level. Like, yeah, it'll help, but getting rid of the limiting beliefs is so huge. And so the funny thing is, like, if you look at, I'll just go through a quick little list of all of the top athletes that have used the hypnotist. Mike Tyson used the hypnotist before every single fight. Customato was actually an amateur hypnotist himself, his trainer.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and he's talked about it on a bunch of shows, Joe Rogan, Howard Stern. Tiger Woods, his dad was, when during the Vietnam War, they were doing hypnosis on the soldiers to help them stay up and all this other stuff. So he took that back with him and started hypnotizing Tiger when he was a kid to play better at golf. Wayne Gretzky, GSP. I was listening when Eric Anders, one of the guys I work with, he was on Matt Serra and Jim Norton podcast, And Matt Serra was talking about how GSP. So Matt Serra had beat GSP, and then they had a rematch, and GSP got hypnotized before his rematch with Matt Serra. And he's like, man, it's funny because he beat me that fight, and he's never lost since. And he goes, there's something to it. So there's a lot of great athletes, Michael Jordan, a lot of great athletes that use hypnosis. But again, because of the way that the media portrays it, and thinking like you're gonna have a watch in front of their face and you're getting very sleepy,
Right?
It's kind of corny, so it has that kind of stigma to it. So,
Hey Dom, we got a question from one of the viewers.
Yeah.
You think is there like a focus kind of a thing, or is it kind of general? Like, do you think you could make like a QB focus on reading
Reading the
defenses
defense.
better,
Oh, yeah.
or
Absolutely.
things like that?
So I'm working with this one guy. He's a receiver. Again, I can't really say his name, and another guy who's a lineman. And, for example, the guy that's a lineman, he wanted to be faster at his first step and be stronger. So, we did the session. He went out. He worked out that day. And what he was benching at about 4 reps, he immediately went up to 6. So, that's a huge gain. He's been trying to get that up to 5 and 6 for a while. His first step was quicker. The wide receiver guy, his thing was like catching the ball, right? So focus on catching the ball. So any sport, any athlete, and here's the thing, I don't know shit about football. I don't play football, but it doesn't matter. Everything is all related, right? So whether it's jiu-jitsu, it's football, it's shooting, it's all about, they all kind of have the same underlying principles, which is the most important. And then you can, based off what the person tells you in their words, I want to be more accurate when I throw the pass. I want my fingers to be on the lace. However they say it is however you'd present it to them.
Do you, I'm sure, being the consummate student that you are, in the time I've known you, you know about the history of hypnosis. Give people a little bit of the history of kind of how it came to this level where now there's certifications and there's this documentation that say, hey, you're legit. Where did it start? I mean, who are some early hypnotists that, like you mentioned a couple names there, that we may or may not know of?
Yeah. So back in like when the Egyptians ran the world, whenever that was, 3,000 years ago, I don't know. That's kind of where the first inklings of hypnosis had began. They didn't call it hypnosis at the time, but they would have these guys, hypnotists, right, that would go in and they would work with basically like all the higher ups, all the whatever you want to call them, the kings and all that kind of, the pharaohs or whatever. So they would work with these guys, and I don't know the exact technical terms that they use. I learned about it, but I can't really remember. But that's the earliest time of where they can find, where they're talking about the conscious and unconscious mind, again, in their own words. And throughout history, there's a bunch of different events that took place with all these different guys. I can't remember exactly their names. The most recent would be Erickson. He was a psychologist and a hypnotist. And he was huge. That's kind of based off of the learnings that I learned is kind of his style. And so, yeah, it kind of just has evolved over time to be
it's got
what it is
3,000 years of history behind
Yeah,
it. So,
yeah.
There's a lot of evolution there. And I imagine, we've heard people talk about transcendental meditation as a form, and I would think that that's a derivative of hypnosis.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. It's like meditating. But, if you've ever tried meditating before, it can be a little bit of a challenge just because, especially if you don't know how. If you just go on YouTube and someone's like, okay, just sit there and try not to have thoughts. Well, the problem with that is when you try not to have thoughts, you're having thoughts of trying not to have thoughts.
Absolutely.
So having somebody there to guide you, and there's certain ways where you basically pass through the critical mind into the unconscious mind, whether it's counting backwards or having people go, you use certain verbiage and certain words to have them go deeper and deeper. So yes, it's like meditation, but the deepest meditation you've ever experienced in your life. People that I've worked with say that it's like they feel like they're on some type of like drug, or it's like a psychedelic experience.
I believe that. I've watched you do it. I've been party to it myself. So take me through. We talked about these high level people. the average Joe Blow comes up to you on the street. He's just a dude working a job, or just a lady. Where do you start with them? Do you say like, hey, we need to start with a 15-minute session, then it becomes like a 2-hour deal? I know you list out the issues they're working on,
Yeah.
but where do you kind of begin with them? Like you take down, I noticed with Jen, you took down some things.
Yeah.
You kind of do a little bit of a jacket on them, a little bit of a file.
Yeah, so I'll figure out, okay, what are they coming to me for? What do they want to? When people come to me, there's usually something they want to get rid of and something they want to go towards, right? So I'll figure that out, and then I'll kind of base it off what they're telling me. You know, it's crazy because I've had people come to me with depression, like literally been diagnosed by the doctor, take medication, all this other shit, and the medication never actually cures anything. And, you know, we'll do about 2 hours of work, and then literally, you know, weeks and months have gone by up until now, and they're like, yeah, man, I still feel great. Like, I don't feel the depression anymore. And so, yeah, it kind of depends on every single person, but typically 2 to 4 hours is where we'll go.
You'll hit a home run.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
in
yeah.
that
Even in 2 hours, their life is going to be completely changed as far as in regards to where they're at right now.
So beyond picking up chicks in the time you've been doing it, what's some of the crazy requests you've gotten, and some maybe that you're like, nah, that's not what I do.
So I had this guy on Instagram. He hit me up and he's like, are you into the dark side of hypnosis? And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, nah, man.
Q is.
I'm like, I'm a Jedi. I only do good. And he's like, oh, well, do you want to be my hypnosis master and, hypnotize me to give you money and all this shit? And I'm like, no, man. Like, what the fuck? Turns
You're
out.
like, yeah, sure. Here's my PayPal.
Yeah.
No.
I should have, but
my cash.
nah, man, he was just super creepy. And, he ended up being, he had a crush on me or something. But he's like, do you want to be my hypnosis master? I said, nah, man, I'm not going to do that. This is probably the funniest one. So I had this lady, good-looking girl. She hit me up on Facebook, and she goes, hey, do you work with, like, phobias of heights and stuff like that? I said, yeah, what can I do for you? She said, well, me and my husband were in the lifestyle. And at the time, I was like, lifestyle?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know what it was. Bow, chicka, bow, wow. Basically, they're swingers. And she goes, yeah, he has this fear of heights. So he cannot go past the 14th floor in a hotel. And so I guess they have these swinger parties, and they're always at the top of the hotel, so they can't go to certain parties.
The freaks all
the
top,
freak.
So the top floor.
I said, yeah, sure, whatever. We could do that. And then she never reached back out to me. I think what it was, honestly, I think she was like trying to proposition me to be like, hey, do you want to fucking
you want to join
do
in?
me while my husband watches?
And hypnotize
I really
me.
think because
Shocker.
literally within the first sentence she had mentioned that, we're lifestyle. Like she could have just said he has a fear of heights, and you know what I mean. So
shocker.
Yeah.
So you get some of these crazy requests.
Vegas, baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, here you get it all. There's no limits. So you get some of these crazy requests, and you're sifting through them. It's probably pretty tempting to kind of get into. I mean, I don't want to use the term the other guy used, the dark side or whatever, or get into some weird. But you're staying true to the course. You want to make people better. You want to get people to a place where they're tapping into spaces that they never knew that they could. And that's really something powerful. And I think I look at you as almost like another coach in someone's camp, in someone's therapy regimen of what they're doing. And that seems like the direction you're going to go, and you're going to go aggressive. And you're getting in with the UFC guys, you're getting in with, like you said, some of the NFL guys, probably eventually some of the hockey guys being in the area we're in. Or if you're not working with them now, I know you can't drop a million names. But I see you going that way fully. Do you see yourself even progressing more education-wise to be where you're going to be like almost like at a therapist level with some of this stuff? Or because you're really good at taking information, and I've seen you go through the process and giving people legitimate guidance. Like I could see you being, I don't want to say like a Tony Robbins, but like
I'm going to be the fucking Tony Robbins of sports. And I said, it's funny, I was doing this call with this lady. She's been doing what I've been doing for a couple of years, and she's pretty successful. And I was like getting some tips for her or whatever. And I told her that, I go, yeah, I'm going to be the Tony Robbins, but of sports. And she laughed at me. She was like,
That's the best motivation.
and but here's the thing. Here's what that is. She's not laughing at me. She's laughing because she doesn't believe it for herself.
Right.
Because perception is projection. You know, when people tell me they want to do great things, I believe them. That's because I know I'm doing great things. So when she laughed at me, oh man, I can't even tell you how many people, and I kind of want to talk about this actually, how many people doubted me and were just trying to make fun of me and all this shit when I first started doing what I'm doing. Some of my closest friends. And, if you're going to start, I can say this from experience, if you're going to start doing something new, like a business or even, whatever it is, you better be ready for your fucking the haters that
it's
come
funny
out.
you bring this up because you and I, share a not too dissimilar path in many ways, and this is going to be surprising when you hear it. I got out of college, I started in finance, and I was killing it, making great money, doing investments, doing insurance. I went to the police academy as kind of a plan B. I was like, let me go to the academy, let me see where that goes, and I was enjoying that. And when I got out and trying to catch on with departments, do things like that, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew finance was killing me inside, and I'm sure you had the same feeling.
Yeah.
And people don't realize, because we're a similar age group, the finance industry was like literally crashing when the markets crashed. Like your commissions were getting checked, everything was changing. So I knew I wanted to get out, and I was bored with it, and I started doing these demos and traveling around and working with firearms companies, and this is going on almost 8 or 9 years, 10 years now. And I started getting into the hierarchy of the firearms world and the defense world, and I went into it, and people thought I was fucking nuts. And within a few years, I was a CEO of a company, and at the end of the day, it's all a means to an end. And I truly, truly believe this statement: only you know where you're going.
Right.
Only you know where you're going. And I didn't have any intentions of being a fat cat, sitting in a suit in a bank somewhere. And to me, I felt like that was dying.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
And I was dying inside. I wanted to do something that got me to a place where I legitimately loved and enjoyed what I was doing every single day. And I came into this business, and people don't realize, this is one of the things all of us overcome. People don't understand what the firearms business and the defense business is all about. It's relationships. It's building relationships. It's building brands. It's getting out there. People, have a huge misconception about what's really involved. And I say it all the time. If there was a reality TV show, it's like any other business. At the end of the day, whether we're selling hats or gloves, we're selling America. We're selling defense weapons. It's a similar business, but at the same time, it comes with a lot of stigmas. People will come around you and they'll say, you're not Navy SEAL enough, you're not secret ninja forces enough, you're not this, you're not that. It's like anything else. It's sometimes we go through this in jiu-jitsu. It's like, oh, you're not a black belt, you're not an MMA fighter. Well, that's not why I do it.
Right.
But only you know where you're going and why you're doing the things that you do and where you get the enjoyment out of it and the love. And you genuinely have to love what you do. I feel in today's day and age with social media, with everything else, and the pressure that comes on to people, being in an office to me and sitting 9 to 5 equals dying.
Oh, yeah.
I could not do that. So I wanted to be in something that I truly loved and enjoyed. So we shared similar paths in that we went through that process of people thinking we're crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And looking at us like, oh my God, you cannot do this. There's no way. But I'll say this to you, and it's almost advice wrapped in what I went through. Only you know where you're going. And looking back, if I had told people in 3 years I'll be in charge of a firearms company, they would have told me I was crazy.
Yeah,
they would have told me I was crazy, and I was shot out of a cannon. And to you, I say, and to anyone, pursue your dream, whatever that dream is. If you love sports teams, if you have to start out as the mascot, it doesn't matter.
Right,
Your
yeah.
story's only going to be better.
Right.
I don't care where you have to start. And sometimes, and I know Q and I go through this mentoring some people, even in the building, they don't realize that you have to start somewhere with it. And if you go towards what you love, it'll never feel like work. And if you have to eat top ramen and ride around in a car with no wheels, then do it, because you'll be happier.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, man. Going through this process for myself, even if I made less money than I did before, I'm a million times happier.
It's a lifestyle
Yeah,
choice.
it's literally like, dude, my life has totally changed. I was just at the Dana White Contender Series and then the ESPYs and all this other shit. It's like, I don't think I would have been there had I kept doing what I'm doing. I know I wouldn't have been there. What the hell am I talking about?
And I'll say this. I could have stayed in finance and made 150, 200 grand a year for the rest of my life, probably pretty easily, and hustled. In the time I've been in this business, I say short, it's actually been about 10 years. In the time I've been in this business, I've had a chance to meet the president.
Yeah.
I've had a chance to meet dignitaries. I've had a chance to travel the world. I've had a chance. And there was a tipping point where I looked around and I'm like, I'm making more money than I was even then. And I'm like, I have a 10 times better lifestyle. But it was pushing through that wall of everybody being like, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy. So I understand completely what you went through and what you're going through. And I had a wise man say something to me once. He said, and I believe this 100% for everybody. In life, you're going to reinvent yourself 3 times. No less than that. You're going to reinvent yourself 3 times. It's how willing you are to move towards that reinvention that's going to make the difference. Right. So you see a lot of people, like we use the analogy, they have the Al Bundy syndrome. They're like polk high. They live in high school. We have friends
the
like
glory
that.
Days.
We have people that live in college. They can't get past it. We have people that, whether they were in the military, law enforcement, whatever they were a part of, they can never let that go and move on to the next challenge in life. Like I had Omar Avila in here, Crispy 11B. He's done a great job, when you say Q, of moving past the challenges in his life. He's burnt. He's missing a leg. He doesn't care. He's in here with a smile on his face, having a good time.
Yeah, he doesn't even bring it up.
He doesn't even bring it up. He's moved on to the next thing. So to me, success boils down to the concept of productivity in life and time management.
Right.
You have to instantly cut out people that say can't. And slide them to the left, and you have to move forward. And the only way to do that is to have such resolve that you're like, okay, can't doesn't exist in my vocabulary. I don't have the time to deal with can't. I don't have the bandwidth, is a term I use all the time. So I'm going to move in this direction. Whoever's going to come with me is going to come.
Right. Yeah. And the thing about, when you listen to other people tell you they can't do something, you better run away as fast as you can, because when they start telling you, like the other day, I told my buddy, I said, yeah, I'm going to be on Rogan like before December 15th. That's like where I see myself. And he's like, oh, well, you can't do it because he said something like he has guest plan. I literally went, no. I like put my shield up. I was like, no. I said, look, keep your opinion to yourself. I shouldn't even have told him because I knew he would say something like that. But I said, no. Just look, whatever you believe is not what I believe, and I don't want to take on your belief. So we're going to stop this conversation right here. And so you have to be willing to do that with people. When they start telling you or themselves they can't, you're taking on those suggestions. So you got to just cut that shit off.
You know, John, I to that point, man, you talking about a mentor gave you some advice. I had one years ago, the same thing. Every 6 months, he told me, evaluate everybody in your life, literally, family, friends, every 6 months, and put them in a pros and cons kind of category. And if they got too many cons, cut them out every 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, I call it a force field analysis. You have to do a force, like we have a force field around us. And we let certain people in the force field, and we keep certain people out of the force field. And some people, there's even an additional force field that they're beyond that. That might be a little Eddie Bravo-esque, but that's...
No. We can get into some real shit if you want.
But I believe that there's certain people, like we always use the term, we keep them at arm's length. There's certain people that we have in our bubble that we allow to influence us because we value their opinion, we value their structure, we value certain things about them. We might not agree with everything about them, but we value certain things about them. And you talk a lot about conscious and subconscious, and they affect not only your conscious, but your subconscious. But I also believe that there's people that we kind of keep at arm's length because we're like, okay, we need them here. There's certain things we have to absorb from them, but there's certain things, like you said, we just have to go, no, we can't take that in. And then there's people even beyond the bubble that are just straight poison and cancerous.
The real bad ones.
And in life, I always say, if you follow the rock and you pay attention to him, and you spread that it's all love mentality. You just have to be like, it's all love, but there's certain people it's all love, but just stay over there and it's still going to be love. You know what I mean? And you have to
I love you from a distance.
Yeah, you know, so you're absolutely right, Q. You have to do a force field analysis, a SWOT analysis of what you're bringing into your life, you know, and whether it's eating shitty, whether it's not training, whether it's putting people in your circle. And that's, you know, one of the things, you know, I've learned just from whether it's weightlifting or jiu-jitsu, I try to do things where there's no lying. You can't make it up. You either can lift the weight or you can't. You either can win the match on the mats or you can't. You learn a lot about yourself, and I've said this 100 times because, Q, you have a football background, so do I. You learn a lot about yourself when your face is down in the mud.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you're pushing that sled and you're down in the mud, and I'm talking about high school, I'm talking about the primal days. There were guys, Q, that took their pads and they went home that first rainy day of practice. Their face was in the mud, and you're like, you're either really in this, and you had to dig fucking deep, and you had to find it at 14, 15 years old. And that's when that work ethic, that level is going to be burned into your brain. And Q, you've been in the huddle. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Completely.
You're going to figure it out right then and there. And some people just find a way. And the people that you let around you, and this obviously speaks to a lot, what you're doing is you're undamaging people in what you do. You're removing damage that has been done to them.
Yeah, throughout their whole life.
And that's what I, you know, when people say they're skeptical or they're this or that, I say, listen, these people, these coaches, these people that you put around you, we all need coaches in life. And we seek out coaching almost on a subconscious level, whether it's through YouTube or other areas to motivate us. We watch motivational clips or we watch something that drives us. You're going into people's conscious and subconscious level, and you're removing scars. Or you're showing them ways to work around the scars that are inside them. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, you're right. And, you know, one of the biggest things, here's what happens. You know, I literally can confidently say that I've read more books personally than anybody I know personally, obviously not more than anybody, but more books about sales, business, mindset. I've listened, you know, when I used to do insurance, I would drive around 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day sometimes. And that's all I played in between appointments, you know, just, you know, different guys, Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, whoever. And here's the problem with that. When you take all that information in, you're taking it in at the conscious level. And if you have things in your unconscious that don't align with those conscious learnings that you're getting, it literally just, it's like they never even are there. So until you get rid of your limiting beliefs, your limiting decisions, you can listen to that stuff, and it's not that it doesn't help, because it works and it helps and it gives you a boost in the moment. But what I learned is, like, I would listen to these guys and I would talk and I'd be all rah rah rah, but as soon as I turned it off, within, you know, hours or whatever, I kind of would go back to my programming, right? My program that I've developed through my whole life. So I'm not saying not to listen to that. But definitely be aware that until you get rid of the limiting beliefs and the blocks and everything, it's going to feel like a sort of a battle. So once I did that for myself and I got rid of all the limiting beliefs, scarcity mindset, etc., I rarely even have to listen to that stuff anymore, because everything is already within myself. So I wanted to touch on something before I forget. So we were just talking about friends and you know, your bubble and how everybody, you know, people kind of influence you. And one of the things that happens, there's an epidemic going on right now, John. Do you know what this epidemic is?
Syphilis. Crabs.
I heard it's coming back. I don't know.
Hey, man, Nevada's #1 in syphilis, man.
Oh, I believe it.
We won.
Shit.
We won.
We won. Go ahead.
So there's an epidemic right now going on, and it affects about 95% of the population. You ready? So this epidemic is the fear. It's the fear. The fear of, what are other people going to think of me? What are they going to say about me if I do the things I want to do? And this fear holds people back from becoming the person that they truly are supposed to be, It freezes us, right? We have this idea, this business, this thing we're going to do, and we get all hyped up, and then we go, oh no, but what is my best friend going to say? What is my mom going to say? What is my girlfriend going to say? So if you can take anything from this entire podcast, this is the one gem, okay? Listen very closely, ignore everything else around you, and focus on the sound of my voice. That's right. When it comes to thinking about people not liking you or being scared of what are other people going to think, are they going to like me, whatever, always remember this. The people that you think don't like you, they don't even like themselves. So remember that, because if they don't like themselves, of course they're not going to like you. So just do what the fuck you're going to do anyways, and just be the person you're supposed to be. And I promise you, once you make that jump and you realize that and you go, damn, he's right. Like, all these other people around me, the reason they don't like me is because they don't like themselves, and they're projecting that out onto me. And once you realize that, and you go, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to focus on me, like you said. And man, your life is going to open up so quick in so many different ways, and you're going to look back 4, 5, 6 months later and go, holy shit, man, I'm a completely different person. So
Hey, Dom.
lock that in your unconscious, my friends.
Dom, let me throw a curveball at you real quick. Let me get my Dr. Phil on. So John brought up a lot of good points, and you've talked a lot about helping people and, getting people through things and overcoming things. How do you deal with the shit? How do you balance yourself out and solve your problems and keep yourself whole and grounded?
I'm glad you brought that up. So I actually have people that I work with that do the same thing that I do. People that I've met along
you get your own therapy.
Yeah, of course. Because some of the stuff I can do for myself, but sometimes you get stuck in your box and you can't really think outside the box sometimes. So it's always good to have a different set of eyes. These are people that do the same things that I do. It's not that they're like any better or any worse. But again, to have like a coach, and that's really what I do. I just don't like calling myself a coach because I just like being called a hypnotist because I like the mystery behind
Sexy.
it. Yeah. But, and the other thing with being a coach is like, I feel like when I think about a coach, I feel like it's somebody that's going to try to give me advice. And here's the problem with giving advice to people, and you've probably experienced this giving advice to people, is they usually don't take it. They come to you with a problem. What would you do here? And you tell them, and then they don't fucking do it, right? We've all had the friends that's like, what do I do about this girl and this and that? And you're like, dude, fucking leave her. And then they stay with them. So I don't give advice to anybody. All I do is I help them find the advice within themselves. Once you help somebody find the advice within themselves, because it's their learnings, it's their unconscious, it's their mind, they will actually act on those things. So that's kind of why I don't refer to myself as a coach. So to answer your question, I do have people that I work with, on a weekly basis, bi-weekly at the longest, that go through the different things that I come across in my life.
I say this all the time. I'm going to come back to a point you brought up, but I say this I refer to a lot of people as coaches because I'm an old football guy, and I'm sure Q does the same.
Yeah.
But that's just an old sports guy trying to teach them new tricks. Now, I come back to you making a good point that those people don't even like themselves. Mm-hmm. And I feel when you deal with haters, mm-hmm. which, obviously this is broadcast all over social media, haters, I feel, are people that look at people's lives, they peel back a curtain, and we allow them to peel back a curtain because we have social media and we're out there. So we allow them a peek behind that curtain. When they look behind that curtain, I truly believe, and you're a smart guy, and you remove scars from people, I feel like those are the people that peek into someone's life and they see something missing in their own.
That's exactly right. Perception is projection.
And they say, why him?
Mm-hmm.
Why does he get this or her get this? Why do they get this? Why are they ahead and I'm not? Why do they get to live a lifestyle I want? So I'm going to make a comment. They consciously then go to a keyboard and they make a comment. They say, "Oh, fuck him," he's an asshole, or screw him, or they'll make an allegation, they say something, or they just want to spout. And I feel like those are the people that are sometimes the saddest souls. Now, this is something Q and I have talked about. That's why they just had social media summits at the White House. I'm a big believer. I'm tired of seeing people hide behind accounts, hide in
dude.
life, and coming forward to another point you brought up. There's people that they don't take good advice, so you can't get into the battle with them,
Right,
back
right.
and forth. The only way I found that succeeds, and you learn this when you're a subordinate and you understand it when you're in charge, which is the best way for me to put this. You can only convince people to change something if you convince them that they thought of the idea.
Exactly. So if somebody comes to you for advice, here's what you tell them, okay? So role play with me here for a second.
Yeah,
Come
sure.
to me for advice about you, whatever.
My girlfriend cheated on me.
Okay.
How do I deal with it?
Well, what do you think you should do?
I don't know, but I really want to stay with her.
Well, if you did know, let's just pretend that you did know. What would you do?
I'd probably have to leave her, but
Yeah.
I don't want to move my stuff out.
You don't want to move your stuff out? So
No.
how would you do that? How would you handle that? What could you do instead?
I could confront her
Uh-huh.
and,
then
tell
what?
her I know,
And then what?
and I don't know. I don't know what'll happen.
Well, if you did know, what would happen after that?
I'd probably have to get my things and leave.
Sounds like you solved your problem on your own.
It's a good, yeah, no, it's absolutely.
You see how that
that's
works?
yeah, it's
He's all,
absolutely.
what the hell?
Yeah, no, but that's absolutely right. I mean, it's all in how you word it. And
But
how
see,
you
if
put
I
it.
told you, let's say run it back.
So run it back.
If I said, man, you got to leave her. This is what you're going to do. Leave her, just pick up your shit, go, and, fuck that bitch, da-da-da-da-da. It's literally pretty much the same advice, but because I'm giving it to you.
'Cause you're dictating.
In my words, and I'm dictating it to you, most people will not take that on. So if you just keep asking them, well, what do you think you should do?
Yeah, and typically, in the past, whenever you deal with a hater, you deal with someone, you say, well, why? Why do you think that? Or what makes you say that? And when you start to boil it down, it's as dumb as it sounds. We've all dealt with this on certain levels, and people come at us with things, with baggage, and what they're trying to do is they're just trying to hand you the bags.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do, make themselves feel good.
Dom,
That's
I want to thank
exactly
you. You just single-handedly saved me from the next 5 arguments with my wife, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
there you
use
go,
that
man.
method,
Just
dude.
literally
I'm
just keep asking.
Just keep asking.
And then if they say, I don't know, that's why I'm asking you. Just say,
Dude.
if you did know,
You're the
or if
man.
you had to pretend, what would that be? And they will
Dom is
they
the
will
man.
figure it out.
It's powerful.
Yeah,
It's
man.
powerful.
It's
It's all in the terminology you use and the language you use with people and understanding, and the term trigger gets used a ton. I don't like to say what's going to trigger them because everybody has a triggering point if you push the right buttons. But at the same time, it's just a different approach. And, outside of maybe the podcast and what people think of me, I get this a lot. I'm actually more laid back in person than people think, than the perception. They see me, they see, a certain physical presence, and they think like this dude's gonna, be like, "Rah," but I'm actually pretty laid back and pretty like, whenever I go with the flow. But it took a lot of time and a lot of mental conditioning to get there, and I'm very like, inquisitive, and I'll question things, and I'll ask the right questions, which makes me terrible at jiu-jitsu, by the way, because I question everything. I'm like, I can't do that. There's no way. But I think people in general all lack something, and I think what you bring to the table, and I know we're running up on time, I think what you bring to the table in removing those scars and developing that confidence and having people kind of not erase but find a way to categorize certain things in their mind and put those things in a certain place in their mind is invaluable. And to anybody out there, I would say, if they haven't sought out some level of, I know you don't like coaching, but hypnosis or working with a hypnotist to help develop methods to deal with those things and create a calm and create a process for processing all those different things, then they're at a loss. They really need to. They need to seek out someone and at least have a few sessions. And I would say, at the very least, where can people contact you and where can they find you?
you can just contact me on Instagram, Mindguide.life, Mindguide.life.
And there it is. Q's pulling it up. And
Yeah,
DM's the best way.
Yeah,
For now?
just DM me. I'm not gonna give out my cell phone to anybody. I have some fucking
No,
weirdos
don't do
hitting
the
me
cell
up.
phone. But is a website in the works now?
I do. It's just a landing page. So
Sure.
the thing with websites is that they're kind of like if you're a big company or you're selling products online, it's good to have. But for me, it's just a landing page to get people to come. It's because I don't really want you to go on my website and look around at everything. I want you to reach out to me so we can have a conversation. So, yeah, so I don't really like use it, to be honest. Because when people ask for your website, they just want to snoop around.
Yeah, I mean, I have a website for the podcast.
This is my website.
Yeah.
My Instagram is my website. That's my entire life. You can fucking go on there and you can look up everything.
Is there ever any plans to bring some of this on YouTube?
Yeah. I've been wanting to do it. I shouldn't make excuses, but I'm just so like dived into what I'm doing that I just haven't really set aside the time to do it. I know I'll get there eventually, but literally, man, I'm working with 3-4 people a day, 2 hours each. It's like plus everything in between, the gym, jiu-jitsu, everything else that I'm slam packed, booked. Like I'm always booked out about a week at least. So it just haven't gotten there quite yet.
Well, we're running up on over an hour, and it's flown by, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I want to first thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me, man. This is super
fun. And
fun.
I appreciate you spending the time, and I know what you charge an hour with a few of the folks and giving them a little bit of insight into what you do. I think we'll be talking about it in the office for a couple weeks to come. Am I right, Q? And I think
to say the least.
To say the least. And I think, I'm looking forward to working with you, at least on a personal level, and having you dump some of your tricks on me for sure, because I need them. I'm a mess. I'm clearly a train wreck. And I think that you're going to do tremendously well. And in my short time here in Vegas, it's an honor to call you a friend.
Oh, thanks,
and,
man.
I mean, you were one of the first guys, we got on the mats. You're like, yeah, let's roll. I'll kick your fucking ass. And I'm like, all right, dude. And you're like, I don't lose to nobody. And I'm like, damn. But, yeah, I mean, it's been an honor. And I was super happy for you, recently promoted. And that's on the mats. So that's been huge. And seeing your success with this has been, kind of something that I'm like, I'm just, super excited to see flourish.
Well, thanks, man. I'm excited to see your guys' success with k-var and everything else. And, I love meeting guys like John because, John, you can tell he has no jealous bone in his body. That's something I dealt with in the past, is being very jealous of people because, like you were saying earlier, they have this, why not me, da-da-da-da-da. So the reason why I love John is because I get a sense of these things. I can just tell by meeting people, talking to them. He's not the jealous type of guy. He's definitely, or you're definitely somebody who encourages people. You're not, going to be one guy in your face and another guy behind your back. Like I can honestly, truly, I'm not just telling you this. Like I don't need to fucking blow smoke up your ass. But yeah, no, I can tell you want people to do good and you want success for other people. And that's why you are in the position you're in, is because you have that mentality. And so, yeah, thank you again for having me on the show.
Anytime.
It's fun.
And to everybody out there, I look at it as we're all in a car in life and we're all going in a direction. As long as you're with guys in the car that aren't trying to grab the wheel and crash it, we're going to go in the right direction.
Yeah.
And maybe when it comes to hypnosis, you're driving the car. Maybe when it's in the gym, I'm driving the car.
Exactly.
Maybe when we're on the mats, we're all kind of grabbing the wheel a little bit, but we're having fun doing it, and we're all tapping dukes at the end of it. And, when we're running cameras, Q's driving the car. It just, you have to understand that not everybody can drive the car at the same time.
Right.
You have to be willing to let other people grab the wheel. Coach Casey, when we're on the mats, he drives.
Right.
So it's just one of those things. You have to be willing to say, this is your time.
Yeah, you take over from here.
This is your time. And I think, this comes back to haters and the whole point. People are afraid to do that. Mm-hmm. And that's why you think The Rock, you see him, it's all love, like I say, online. And not to go off on a tangent, but it's important. You see him, he's spreading nothing but love. Because the minute you go down the wormhole of looking at someone with envy, a lot of weird things start to creep in your mind that you didn't know were there. I have no desire to be a hypnotist.
Yeah.
I have no desire to grab the wheel and say, gee, I just look at it and I say, that's fucking awesome, man. Right on.
Yeah.
Run with it. And people probably look at me up on a podcast and like, how does that motherfucker get up there and go for 90 minutes? Well, anyone who spends a day with me knows I'm a little bit of a blabbermouth. But when I get on the mats, or I tend to be a little more quiet. I'm laid back. I have like one of those exteriors. It'll take a while for people to crack it, but when you do, it's all nothing but love. Once you get past that, because I'm not quick. I'm East Coast at the end of the day, and anyone who knows the East Coast, you're going to have that you know, that realness about you where you're like, yeah, you know, you look fucked up today. You know, you're
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
real about it. But, you know, I appreciate that and the kind words, but I know you're going to crush it. It's no doubt about it. I love seeing
Thank
people
you,
start
man.
their own business. You know, we had AG in here the other day. You know, the guy's in 2 years blown it up, and he's going to keep killing it with toe hold. And I love that. And I love seeing guys like Coach Casey make a career and a living out of jiu-jitsu,
Yeah,
which
he's
is like
killing it.
literally impossible
Like
to do.
6 gyms or
Yeah.
something.
It's almost impossible to do. And, you know, I'm just blessed to have the opportunities I have and to be able to come to the great state of Nevada and have the opportunity to do this.
Vegas, one of the greatest
You
places
know,
on
to,
earth.
to get to do this. And you know, I love it. But I want to take a minute. I want to thank you. I want to thank everyone in the studio. I want to thank Q, Melody, Rory, Jen, of course, for being hypnotized.
Jen and Ray.
Yeah, Ray. And, of course, Dave. But everyone, head over to k-var, www.k-var.com. Please check it out. If you haven't, give them a look. We got everything on there. Go check them out. We're going to probably continue this segment in some way, shape, or form with Dom in the coming weeks, and we're going to hypnotize someone to be a better shot.
Yeah, that's what I really want to do.
Yeah,
To show
we're going to do it.
the proof, like, hey, this is the before, this is the after, and it works 100%
Now
of the
that
time,
we've put this
100% of
out
the
there,
time.
now that people understand the process,
Uh-huh.
the next segment, Q, we're going to get the cameras. We're going to go to a range. We're going to do it in the VIP at 702, and we're going to hypnotize someone, and they're going to be a better shot. We're going to.
Dude, let's
I'm
take the
making
worst shot
promise
out
now.
there. Who's the worst shot in this building?
Yeah,
Let's find him.
we're gonna make the promise now that we're going to do that in the
we
coming
got some
weeks.
contestants.
We got a
I'm
lot of-
probably the worst shot.
We got some contestants.
Well, we have to reverse hypnotize Dom to do it. And maybe eventually you can hypnotize me to be halfway decent at jiu-jitsu. Maybe I can learn one move. So I appreciate everyone. We're gonna cut out. I want to thank Dom and make sure you head over
Thanks,
to
guys.
kvar.com. I appreciate everyone. Q, sign us out.